Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, honor, glory, and worship unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Kodash. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles that do rule well, overseeing the tabernacle of David, which are the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and greetings and salutations unto you, Achim, upholding the testimony of our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai, in both truth and in sincerity, not wavering, maintaining the banner of this truth unto the end. This is an overview of the book of Revelations, the 20th chapter. Verse 1, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit. Now, the bottomless pit is speaking of Europe. It says, and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold of the dragon, which the dragon is speaking of the Roman Empire, but not only the Roman Empire. The dragon also, in essence, has been regenerated as the revival of the Roman Empire via NATO and the EU. Now, in this context, is speaking of the Roman Empire. All right, because the Roman Empire had fallen. It says, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil. And that's the Roman Empire. Or may I say the persona that personifies the Roman Empire, being the Edomites, the self-proclaimed white race. All right. According to the Bible, they're Edomites. And no, it's not about the skin color. It's about who they descend from. They descend from a man by the name of Edom, or Esau. All right. And it's not about their skin color. It's based upon who they descend from. All right. The Herodian dynasty, which they were Edomites, but they had dark skin because they intermingled. They had Israelite mothers. So, but they were still Edomites. So it doesn't matter about skin color. We just want to put that out there. But the people of the ancient Roman Empire were so-called white people. All right. And they call themselves white today. That's how they identify themselves. That's the only reason why we use these terms. They're not white, though. They're red. Anyway, it says that old serpent, right? So this is the same serpent from the garden. It's that same spirit, the same essence of spirit, which is the devil's. All right, as you can see, it says, which is the devil, which devil comes from the Greek diabolos, all right, which means deceiver. He is a deceiver. He calls himself white. He says that it's okay to be a sodomite. He pushed a trans agenda. He lies and said that he's the God's chosen people when he's not. He's the Edomite. He lied and says that everything he says is a lie. He says there's no God. He took God out of school. It's just everything is a lie. And that's why we call him the devil, not because we believe in Greek mythology and we believe in some Sidon nigga with a fork. No, it's because we know the meaning of words, and according to the Bible, he is that deceiver. He is that devil. It says, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. And that 1,000 years of him being bound was via the what you would consider the Dark Ages. And that's a period in which Israelites ruled. We ruled with various different empires. You had the Holy Roman Empire. You had the Byzantine Empire, which oftentimes people think these were the same empire, which they were two different empires. All right. The Holy Roman Empire was a Germanic empire that was established 400 years after the establishment of the Byzantine Empire. Nevertheless, these were both empires that were ruled by Israelites, so-called Negroes. You had the different Moorish empires throughout Spain and Portugal, and Britain. You had the Saxons, which were Israelites. All right, and this was during 1,000 years when the Roman Empire had fallen. Essentially, the Edomites had fallen out of their rulership, but they came back in the Renaissance period, which the word Renaissance means rebirth. Well, wait a minute, rebirth of what? Rebirth of the Roman Empire. Verse 3, it says, and cast him into the bottomless pit, which that bottomless pit is Europe. It says, and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more. Right, because he had deceived the nations with pushing his paganism, pushing his witchcraft during the Roman Empire. All right, it says, no more. It says, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. And that little season is what we're at the end of. And yeah, he came out during the time of the 1400s and the 1500s. But now we're at the end of that little season, because now he's about to be destroyed by Russian intercontinental ballistic missiles. Now you have Russian submarines at the coast of the unwalled village. Now North Korea has hypersonic nuclear missiles that can't be shot down, and when they shoot them, they're gonna hit their target. And so so it was a little season for him, because it's over now. Now it's over. Now the writing is written on the wall. It says, verse 3, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. And we're at the end of that season. Verse 4, and I saw thrones, and they sat upon them. This is speaking of the elect of the nation of Israel. It says, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua and for the word of God, in which had not worshipped the beast. The beast is NATO and EU. The beast is America. The beast is the system. Or the image of the beast is the system. It is the, I want to partake in trans life, and I want to, partake in Christmas. I want to partake in the filth, all different types of witchcraft and, unrighteous deeds. Basically, you want to be a Roman. The philosophy of the Western world. That's what it is. And if you worship it, meaning you submit yourself to that, you follow, you're a partaker of that. But see, the elect of the nation of Israel, they stood on business and they didn't. They held forth the testimony until the end. Only thing somebody like me can do is hope I'm a part of that valiant and honorable number. When the saints come marching in. This is what this is talking about. The saints are those who bear the word of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua through great tribulation, through great opposition. And that's what makes them saints, which the word saints means holy. They were set apart from the beast. It says, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads. Now that mark is the charagma, as we say, which is the MOTB. It is the CHIP that will be incorporated underneath the skin of the unbelievers. In their right hand, their left hand, or their foreheads. It is the mark of the, as you can see, as we have just read, the beast. It is an incision. It is an it is an incision. It is the path of no return. It says, had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. So the elect, the ones with thrones, they didn't do it. They didn't take it. It says, and they lived and reigned with Mashiach 1,000 years. And that 1,000 years is speaking of the first 1,000 years of the kingdom. We're going to rule with Yahushua forever, which 1,000 years in essence represents forever, but the first 1,000 years is a pivotal part of the establishment of the kingdom. All right. It's a very important, intricate part. It is the foundation of the establishment of the kingdom of heaven when it is established. We are the foundation right now. We're doing the work to bring forth the kingdom. But when Yahushua returns, that first 1,000 years is going to be major. Not to say that the 7,000th year won't be major. I'm just making a point. Verse 5. But the rest of the dead, which the dead represents the heathens. All right. The dead represents the heathen. He that wandereth out of the way of of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. The dead represents the other nations. It says, but the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. Meaning that first 1,000 years, they're going to be in hardcore slavery, all the heathens. I can refer you to Isaiah the 14th chapter, 1st and 2nd verse. And we can go to Revelations the 13th chapter and the 9th verse, 10th verse. We can go to, matter of fact, let's do that. Let's go to the book of Psalms. Let's get one real quick. 140, what's that, 147? See, that's exactly why I need to be going to it. Well, no, it's 149. Yep. This verse 5, it says, let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people. And that's the dead, those people. Verse 8, to bind their kings with chains, because they're going into slavery under the Israelites. We went in cargo slave ships. What, you just thought you was better than the sons of God? That's your pride that made you have that miscalculation. Not reason. No, indeed, you will be going into slavery under the sons of God, under the Israelites. We went into slavery underneath you guys. Why would your pride allow you to think that you're better than what you are? Why do you think you can upset Bible prophecy? I get it. We thought we could too. We lost. The Lord put the curses on us and it happened. But the thing is, the blessings are about to happen as well. It says to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. to execute upon them the judgment written. This judgment is written. It's not up for discussion. We won't be going to Doha and talking about it. It says, this honor have all his saints, praise ye Yahweh. Just a precept for context sake. Back to the 20th chapter. It says, but the rest of the dead live not until the 1,000 years were finished. Right. They're not going to be able to go back and establish their civilization until that first 1,000 years is up. They're just going to be in hardcore bondage for a whole 1,000 years. All the heathens. It says, this is the first resurrection. It says, verse 6, blessed and holy is he that have part in the first resurrection. On such the second death have no power, which the second death is speaking of the thermonuclear missiles. Those who are partakers of the first resurrection, who've been resurrected with Yahushua, who Yahushua will save, all right, they're not going to be destroyed by the calamities of this world. They're not going to be destroyed by the missiles, because the missile is a representation of the second death. All right. The world aforetime was destroyed by water, but this time it shall be destroyed by fire. It says, on such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Mashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Verse 7. And when the 1,000 years, now this is let's jump into a time machine, because verse 7 isn't talking about the kingdom. Verse 7 is talking about at the end of the Dark Ages, coming into the Renaissance period. Verse 7, and when the 1,000 years are expired, so this is the 1,000 years that was spoken of, not in verse 6, not in verse 5, in verse 6, but the 1,000 years that's spoken of in verse 3. These are two different 1,000-year periods. One is talking about the Dark Ages. One is talking about verse 3 and verse, what is that? 6. No, pardon me. Verse 3 and verse 7 is talking about the Dark Age period, 1,000 years. All right. Verse 5 and 6 is talking about after the Messiah returns in the first 1,000 years of the kingdom of heaven. That, for context sake, I will continue. Verse 7, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Dark Age is expired, Renaissance established, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. And that was the Renaissance. That's when Satan was loosed out of his prison. Verse 8, he was loosed out of Europe. Remember, the bottomless pit is talking about Europe, and the Renaissance was established and came forth from where? Europe. It came from Spain. It came from, of course, England. But predominantly, it started off out of Spain and out of Rome, out of Italy. Italy, Spain, and of course, France as well, but primarily Spain originally, because that's where the papacy was usurped through the Borgia line. That was an intricate part in history. Verse 8, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth. And that's what they did. And it was mainly, they did it through Christianity. Now they don't use Christianity anymore. Now they use, they say democracy. And they push democracy. Wherever you hear democracy, that they done been deceived by the beast. You hear people talking about, democracy. Yep, the beast been there. That's a clear sign that it's been influenced by the beast. And this whole earth, they talk about fucking democracy. All right. Even though they're not true to democracy, the rule of the people. It's just they just say that. None of like America isn't an actual democracy; it's a republic. None of these countries are actual democracies. These people don't vote and put those leaders in. These people are put in via different means. It says, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle. Now, this is a fast forwarding of, okay, they've deceived the nations from the Renaissance all the way up until now. And now when it's talking about Gog and Magog, well, really that's talking about Russia. Gog is speaking of Russia. All right. Now, the Russians, Gog, the ancient Gogites, or one wants to call them Magagites or Gogites, those were Japhites that lived in that vicinity that you call Russia today. More so near Asia Minor, West Caucasus realm, Ukrainian realm of area. All right. They live, we talk about Meshach and Tubal and so on and so forth, but that's actually talking about Russia today. That's not talking about those ancient people. It's talking about Russia because those people don't live there anymore. Now the Edomites live there, the Russians, which they're Edomites. The ruling class, it's different ethnicities in Russia, but the ruling class of Russians are Edomites. Now, they're a better stock of Edomites than the Americans in the West, but they're still Edomites, which makes them still the devil. They're still the wicked. They're just not as bad as the Western Edomites, which is like the Americans. They're the real scum of the earth, and the small hats. And the Europeans, they're more filthy. They push all this nastiness. The Russians, they Edomites, they not pushing this nastiness like the Americans are though. Americans is just terrible, nasty work. But when it says Gog and Magog, it says to gather them together to the battle. And we see that taking place right now. That's what you see Putin going to North Korea, going to Vietnam. He's gathering the nations to the battle of Armageddon. Making different alliances. You just left you just left China not too long ago. They're making alliances. He, Putin, being the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. It says the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. That's talking about Armageddon, which Armageddon means mountain of troops. Gog means mountain. The word Gog means mountain. Mountain of troops. And they will be led, these different troops and these different armies will be led by the Russians. They'll be led by the Russians to fight against America in Armageddon. Verse 9, it says, and they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about in the beloved city. And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. Yes, when Yahweh shall return, he's going to destroy. It tells you about that in 2nd Ezra. Should I get it? I don't want to make it too long. I'm going to get it anyway, though. What's that? I think it's 15. Might be 13. Behold, no, it's 13. Yep. It says, 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 5, it says, after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men It's talking about the same thing we just read in Revelations. Out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Which the man that came out of the sea is talking about Yahweh Shemashach, the Messiah of Israel. It says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain. That's what you call a UFO, a fathership. That's that great mountain. All right. We call it a Marakaba. All right, which is a chariot. It's a great chariot, which makes it a great millstone. The term chariot in the Hebrew it goes back to upper millstone. And that's why that mountain is in the sky. It's in the sea, which is talking about in the heavens. Is that upper millstone? It says, and flew upon it. See, upper. He flew upon it, meaning it was in the air. Verse 7. It says, and I would have seen the region or place whereout that, the hill was graven, but I could not write because the chariot, or what you consider the UFO, the fathership, it was just so big, it covered the whole sky. You couldn't see everywhere. You look left, you look right, and you looked in the sky, you just saw the ship. That's all you saw. Verse 8, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they that which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. They were scared, but they fought anyway. The Lord put in their heart to do it. Verse 9, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lift up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire. See, we just read about fire coming from heaven. It says, out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. All this came from the spaceship that Yahweh Shai is in, the Messiah is in. Verse 11. It says, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, which is talking about concentrated laser beam. It says, let's see. It says the flaming breath. It says the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Revelations, the 20th chapter. And in the latter part of verse 9, it says, and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. That's what we just read about in detail in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. Verse 10, it says, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire, which is talking about the missile, because the missiles simultaneously, as all this is happening, the thermonuclear missiles are going to be shot from these different countries and are going to hit America and Europe. It says, and the devil that deceives them was cast into the lake of fire, right, which the Edomites, basically they're going to be destroyed by thermonuclear missiles, right? That's the devil that deceived the earth. It says, and fire and brimstone, which the beast and the false prophet are, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Right, which the false prophet is speaking of the Vatican. All right, and now the beast system is talking about America and Europe. Is talking about America and Europe, but the main place of the lake of fire is speaking of America. All right. It says, and shall be tormented. Remember we spoke about the Borgia household coming into the papacy. Ever since then, that's when the devil came out of the bottomless pit. All right, and that's going into the false prophet, the Vatican. All right, but verse 11 it says, the latter part of verse 10 it says, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. And that's talking about America when America is destroyed by thermonuclear missiles. Verse 11, and I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. Right, because there wasn't any place found for them because Yahweh Shah was the one to rule. All right, there was no place of rulership for the other heathens. All right, because Yahweh Shah Yahweh Shah is going to rule at that point. All right, verse 12. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the book, which they're going to be judged based upon the judgment that was already written. All the prophecy that was written, these heathens going to slavery, Israel being saved, everybody is going to be judged based upon what's already written. It says according to their works. And they're going to be judged according to what the book says is right and wrong. So if people were going out and committing adultery, if people were being murderers, if people were lying, you're going to be judged according to that. If people were being righteous, you're going to be judged for your righteous good deeds. All right, which only the Israelites are going to be saved, though. All right. It says, according to their works. Verse 13, it says, and the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works, which the dead is going to the heathens. All right. The heathens are going to be judged. The Heavenly Father is going to judge everybody. He's going to judge the heathens. Verse 14, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. Right, which death and hell represents it represents sin. It represents because the wages of sin is death, and the Israelites will no longer sin anymore. After the lake of fire, we're going at the twinkling of an eye, we're going to receive new bodies where we won't sin, and the hell we're going to be immortal. All right, so we're not going to die anymore. We're not going to go to a grave anymore. All right, because hell represents grave. All right, and sorrow. That's going to be done after Yahweh Shah returns. All that's going to be destroyed in the lake of fire. All right, and it's going to be in the lake of fire. All right, which of course that's through the thermonuclear missiles. This is the second death, which the second death is talking about the thermonuclear missiles that's going to hit America. Verse 15, and whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. That's why we hope to be found faithful and true, written in the book of life. And we hope that Yahweh Shah delivers us. Otherwise, if he doesn't deliver you and you're in America, you're going to die by thermonuclear missiles. And it's not going to be a quick death. It's going to be terrible. We just hope for mercy. It's a very scary thing. If you really want to be honest, it's scary. And it's like, dang, I really hope I'm saved. You know. But it's all up to the Lord. You know, we just it's just our faith that we get saved. So that, giving our praises, honor, glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Bahashim Kakadash, double honors to the apostles.